Hare Krishna. Welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Today we will be studying the 9th chapter of the Adi Leela. It's quite a small chapter. I do not know if we can finish everything today, but we will start the 9th chapter today. The title is The Desired Tree of Devotional Service. That's the name of the chapter. The Desired Tree of Devotional Service. Alright, we'll say our Mangalacharan prayers and then we will continue. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Caitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chapter 9, The Desired Tree of Devotional Service. So let's read the summary of this chapter. This is taken mainly from the Amrita Pravaha Bhashya of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So reading from the summary. A summary of chapter 9 has been given as follows by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. In this chapter, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has devised a figurative example by describing the desired tree of bhakti. He considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Vishwambhar, to be the gardener of this tree because he is the main personality who has taken charge of it. As the supreme enjoyer, he enjoyed the fruits himself and distributed them as well. The seed of the tree was first sown in Navadvip, the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the tree was brought to Purushottama Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, and then to Vrindavan. The seed fructified first in Srila Madhavendra Puri and then in his disciple Sri Ishwar Puri. So what is this seed fructifying in Navadvip first and then Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travels. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his birth in Mayapur in Navadvip, and then when he took sannyas, he went to Jagannath Puri, and then after that he left and then he did a South India tour and he also did a Vrindavan tour. So that's why it is said here like this. The seed, the tree was brought to Purushottam Kshetra and then to Vrindavan. And of course, he came back from Vrindavan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Vrindavan only once, and then he asked the Goswamis, the 6 Goswamis, his direct disciples, to continue the work there, to excavate all the holy places of pilgrimage, holy sites of Krishna's pastimes, and also build temples and write scriptures based on the Vedic understanding, and in delineating the entire path of devotional service. So these are the instructions left by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the 6 Goswamis, and that's how this whole thing. In fact, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, nobody knew anything. People have completely forgotten. He was the one who personally dug a paddy field and then said, "This is Radha Kund," and the adjacent one is Shama Kund. So in that way, it was actually completely lost by then. It was only because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that it again revived. And now there is so much hustle and bustle in Vrindavan is because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Before that, people have already forgotten everything there. So the seed fructified first in Srila Madhavendra Puri and then in his disciple Sri Ishwar Puri. So that means what he's saying is, in this parampara, in this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, even Madhvacharya was not worshipping Radha Krishna. It was Srila Madhavendra Puri who started Radha Krishna worship in our parampara. And Madhavendra Puri's disciple is Ishwar Puri, and Ishwar Puri's disciple is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is what is meant by this. The seed fructified first in Srila Madhavendra Puri and then in his disciple Sri Ishwar Puri. It is figuratively described that both the tree itself and the trunk of the tree are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Paramananda Puri and 8 other great sannyasis are like the spreading roots of the tree. From the main trunk there extend 2 special branches, Advaita Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and from those branches grow other branches and twigs. The tree surrounds the entire world and the fruits of the tree are to be distributed to everyone. So this is the tree of the Sankirtan movement, is this parampara system. So a parampara is not just a linear list of names. No. Those lists, the 32 names that we see in our parampara, it's not just like a linear list. Many times I have mentioned that. They are the nodes of the different branches. Node means at a place where 2 branches, like one branch and then it separates to 2 branches. So that separating point, that is called a node. So these names in this parampara are actually the nodes of the tree. Now if you take any tree which has many branches, now you start from the root and you target one of the leaves on the tree. Now from this root to that leaf, what is the pathway? So there will be, from the trunk there will be many branches, maybe a handful, maybe 7, 8, like that. And then from which branch should I choose to go to that leaf? So that node, so that's how the parampara system is. And then that branch again subdivides into many, and then so that node again, that branch subdivides into many, and then there are twigs, and then there are finally, and in one twig there are many maybe leaves, and then finally that leaf. So like that. So it's that nodes. So like that's how parampara actually is, disciplic succession. So Dimitri is mentioning this letter of Prabhupada, letter to Dayananda. Regarding parampara system, there is nothing to wonder for big gaps, just like we belong to the Brahma Sampradaya, so we accept it from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasa, Vyasa to Madhva. And between Vyasadeva and Madhva there is a big gap. But it is sometimes said that Vyasadeva is still living and Madhva was fortunate enough to meet him directly. In a similar way, we find the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, that the Gita was taught to the sun god some millions of years ago. But Krishna has mentioned only 3 names in this parampara system, namely Vivaswan, Manu and Ikshvaku. And so these gaps do not hamper from our understanding the parampara system. We have to pick up the prominent acharya and follow him. There are many branches also from the parampara system, and it is not possible to record all the branches and sub-branches in the disciplic succession. We have to pick up from the authority of the acharya in whatever sampradaya we belong to. So, from the main trunk there extend 2 special branches, Advaita Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and from those branches grow other branches and twigs. The tree surrounds the entire world. This is not some small tree, this is a huge tree. And Srila Prabhupada is the one who spread the branches everywhere. And the fruits of the tree are to be distributed to everyone. That means love of Godhead should be distributed to everyone. In this way, the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu intoxicates the entire world. It should be noted that this is a figurative example meant to explain the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a mention. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhvamulamadha Shakham Ashwatham Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Vedasa Vedavit. So, of course, this is the Karma Kanda, one who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So similarly, this parampara is like this upside down tree. The root is Krishna, and then everything is just spreading down like that. Okay, so here we start the verses. 9.1. So if you have noticed by now, the first verse of every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita is a Sanskrit verse composed by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and it's a beautiful verse every time. So here we have another one. Tam Shrimad Krishna Chaitanya Devam Vande Jagadgurum Yasyanukampaya Shvapi Mahabdhim Santaret Sukham. Even a dog, Shvapi. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual master of the entire world, Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a dog can swim across the great ocean. Purport. Sometimes it is to be seen that a dog can swim in the water for a few yards and then come back to the shore. Here, however, it is stated that if a dog is blessed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can swim across an ocean. Similarly, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, placing himself in a helpless condition, states that he has no personal power, but by the desire of Lord Chaitanya expressed through the Vaishnavas and the Madan Mohan Vigraha, it is possible for him to cross a transcendental ocean to present Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the service, he took it, it is actually a big service to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he compared that to the ocean to complete the service. So, but he considers himself like a dog, unable to swim. He is not considering himself like a whale or something, he can swim to the other side or what. He's considering himself like a dog who cannot swim such a great distance. And he's in his humility. But he's praying to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that he can cross this ocean of service and reach the other side. So of course we have this verse when we think of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. कथंचन स्मृते यस्मिन् दुष्करं सुकरं भवेत् विस्मृते विपरीतं स्यात् श्री चैतन्यं नमामि तम्. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu I offer my respectful obeisances. This is also a first verse of a chapter. Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra Jaya Jaya Advaita Jaya Jaya Nityananda. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is known as Gaura Hari. All glories to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Gan Sarva Bhishta Purti Hetu Jahar Smaran. All glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Srivas Thakur. In order to fulfill all my desires, I remember their lotus feet. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dāsa Raghunath. This verse we see in that song also of Nam Sankirtan. The song title is Nama Sankirtan. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. So, in fact, Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govindaram Shri Madhusudanam. So, these were chanted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Srivasangan, which is the courtyard of Srivas Thakur, where the Sankirtan movement started, was inaugurated 500 something years ago. So, anyway, Narottam Das Thakur took those lines and incorporated into his song called Nama Sankirtan. And in that, the fourth stanza is this: Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dāsa Raghunath. The six Goswamis' names are here. I also remember the six Goswamis: Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta, and Dāsa Raghunath. And purport: this is the process for writing transcendental literature. A sentimentalist who has no Vaishnava qualifications cannot produce transcendental writings. So, what is the process for writing transcendental literatures? That means we have to take request or beg for the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, and of course the spiritual master first, and then the Vaishnavas. So in this way he is putting himself as a servant of all these personalities here. And in a humble mood he is writing. And that is the process for writing transcendental literature. A sentimentalist who has no Vaishnava qualifications cannot produce transcendental writings. There are many fools who consider Krishna Leela to be a subject of art and who write or paint pictures about the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis, sometimes depicting them in a manner practically obscene. These fools take pleasure in material sense gratification, but one who wants to make advancement in spiritual life must scrupulously avoid their literature. Unless one is a servant of Krishna and the Vaishnavas, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami presents himself to be in offering respects to Lord Chaitanya, his associates, and his disciples, one should not attempt to write transcendental literature. So anything that we do as a service, writing or even making videos, anything, we have to consider ourselves servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis, the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas, everybody. In that mood only we have to do. Not, I want more subscribers, I want more fame, I want more followers. That is not the idea with which we do any of these, any service to Krishna. Eshab prasad likhi chaitanya leela gun jani va na jane kore apana shodhan. This is very I always quoted this many times, especially before. Nowadays I have not been quoting this so much, but this is a good reminder. Jani vana jani kore apana shodhan. Esava Chaitanya Leela Gun. So it is by the mercy of all these Vaishnavas and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know it or not, whether I know it or know not, it is for self-purification that I write this book. So this is the mood with which to write. One should explain Krishna Leela, not thinking that, oh, I will deliver the whole world, I am the greatest explainer of Krishna's pastimes or Krishna's philosophy. No, we can't even put two words together about Krishna. He is Adhokshaja. So it is for self-purification that I write this book, and we will find a similar echoing of the same mood in the Bhagavatam as well. Is it this? Yeah. 3:6:36. Easy to remember, right? तथापि कीर्तयाम्यङ्ग यथामति यथाश्रुतं कीर्तिं हरेः स्वां सत्कर्तुं गिरमन्याभिधासतीम्. In spite of my inability, whatever I have been able to hear from the spiritual master and whatever I could assimilate, I am now describing in glorification of the Lord by pure speech, for otherwise my power of speaking would remain unchaste. Actually, that is the very reason why I am doing these classes, especially the Saturday class, all my classes, for self-purification. Actually, anyway, people think I am just like acting humble, but the fact is that it is for self-purification that we have to do these things, not with any pride that, okay, I am going to deliver or I am going to enlighten everybody with my great understanding and realizations, and that is not the platform from which we do this service. It is for self-purification. Purport. This is the sum and substance of transcendental writing. One must be an authorized Vaishnava, humble and pure. One should write transcendental literature to purify oneself, not for credit. One should write transcendental literature to purify oneself, not for credit. Oh, I want to be known as the writer of this. I want to be known as a speaker of this, that. No. To purify oneself, that's all. By writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. Same thing when we are speaking about the Lord, we are forced to associate with the Lord directly, because we have to think about the Lord, and that is purification. And what is that? Shravane Parikshit. What is that verse? This is the one, 22:136, Madhya. Shri Vishnoh Shravane Parikshidabhavad Vaiyasakih Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Prithu Pujane Akrurastvabhivandane Kapipatir Dasyetha Sakhyarjuna Sarvasvatma Nivedane Balirabhut Krishnaptiresham para. Vaiyasakih Kirtane. Maharaj Parikshit attained the highest perfection, shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet, simply by hearing about Lord Vishnu. Shukadeva Goswami attains perfection simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. So just by reciting Bhagavatam, one can get all perfection. So this is called self-purification. Just by speaking, we will become purified. because we are associating with the Lord. We have to think about the Lord to speak about Him. We have to think about His philosophy. And if you see these couple of verses from Mukundamala Stotra, if you see 27, I think. Namami Narayana Pada Pankajam Karomi Narayana Pujanam Sada Vadami Narayana Nama Nirmalam Smarami Narayana Tattvam Avyayam. You see, Vadami Narayana Nama Nirmalam Smarami Narayana Tattvam Avyayam. I recite the pure name of Narayana and I reflect on the infallible truth of Narayana. So that is what we have to do. And if you see this other verse, 46th verse, I think so. Yeah. Pranamamishasya shirah phalam vidus tadarchanam prana phalam divaukasah manah phalam tad guna tattva chintanam vachah phalam tad guna kirtanam buddhah. The wise inhabitants of the heavenly regions know that the perfection of the head is to offer prostrate obeisances to the Supreme Lord. The perfection of the life breath is to worship the Lord. The perfection of the mind is to ponder the details of His transcendental qualities, and the perfection of speech is to chant the glories of His qualities. So, both these verses to reflect on the infallible truth of Narayana. So, His philosophy, to reflect on His philosophy, you are forced to do that when you speak. So, that is actually a very, very purifying experience. So, by writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. One should not ambitiously think, I shall become a great author, I shall be celebrated as a writer. These are material desires. One should attempt to write for self-purification. It may be published or it may not be published, but that does not matter. If one is actually sincere in writing, all his ambitions will be fulfilled. Very, very clear instructions here by Srila Prabhupada. Let's read that again. One should not ambitiously think, I shall become a great author, I shall be celebrated as a writer. These are material desires. One should attempt to write for self-purification. It may be published or it may not be published, but that does not matter. If one is actually sincere in writing, all his ambitions will be fulfilled. Whether one is known as a great author is incidental. One should not attempt to write transcendental literature for material name and fame. Now, this can be expanded for every single service. Whatever service we are doing, it is not to gain fame from that service. No. We tend to fall into the trap always. Oh, I want to be famous, I want to be shown, I want to be known. No. Here it is clearly mentioned, for self-purification. That's it. That's all we are doing it for. If at all there is some fame that comes with it, that is, Krishna is doing it. That's it. We have to do it for self-purification. Yeah, Prabhupada mentioned it may be published or it may not be published, but that does not matter. Very, very important instruction. But we should write. Prabhupada also wanted his disciples to write for the magazine. Of course, we don't need to write big books. For the magazine, some articles here and there we should write. We should always write. Because that's how we will think about Krishna. That's how we will try to express our realizations. That's why we should speak. If we don't repeat what we have heard from the spiritual master, we will lose what we have learned. It will not stay with us. Vidya, knowledge, is something that will increase only when you share. When you keep it to yourself, it will actually diminish. Unlike money. Very, very important instruction here. Malakarah swayam Krishna prema marataruh swayam dāta bhokta tat phalanam yastam chaitanyam ashraye. I take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself is the tree of transcendental love of Krishna. its gardener, and also the bestower and enjoyer of its fruits altogether. He himself is the same. Dimitri Prabhu is asking, does it mean that Srila Prabhupada wrote books for his self-purification, yet he showed them to everyone out of his mercy? He's already purified. He is speaking from a purified platform. Actually, even Shukadeva Goswami, who was already purified, but to show example that we can become purified. So of course, Srila Prabhupada never thought it was his books. That's why he was reading his own books. And he said, these are not my books. These are Krishna's books. Krishna was dictating and I was just writing. And these are Krishna's books. So he used to read his own books, and that too not as an editor. Oh, this was not correct. Okay, that should have been said like this. No, he was reading to become Krishna conscious, to know more about Krishna, to read about Krishna. As a devotee, he was reading, not as an editor. So, even that reading, why would he have to read? He himself wrote. So, it is Krishna's writing. It's not that he does not know what he wrote. That is not the meaning. But even if he knows, he will read again. And there is always, Krishna's words are ever fresh. Ever fresh. There is no such thing as, this is called Nityanutana. This is explained here. Rukmini Devi says this, 10:50. 52:43, I think. No, 52:20. Brahman Krishna Katha Punya Madhvir Lokamalapaha Konu Tripyeta Shranvana Shrutagno Nityanutana. What experienced listener, O Brahmana, could ever grow satiated while listening to the pious, charming and ever fresh topics of Lord Krishna, which cleanse away the world's contamination? Who will become tired, in other words, while listening to the pious, charming and ever fresh topics of Lord Krishna, while listening to them? So that is why, and even Prithu Maharaj, he says he wants millions of years to hear about Krishna's glories. I think Hmm. 4:20-24. न कामयेनाथ तदप्यहं क्वचिन् न यत्र युष्मच्चरणाम्बुजासवः महत्तमान्तर्हृदयान्मुखच्युतो विधत्स्वकर्णायुतमेष मे वरः. विधत्स्व अयुतं कर्णायुतं कर्णार्बुद. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 years, not YEARS, EARS. 1,000,000 years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. So why? He is already a pure devotee. So they want to always hear. Rukmini also was saying that. She is a pure devotee. She is Lakshmi herself. Dimitri is saying, this I did not understand. Just like Sunugopal Prabhu, he has been reading for 40 years plus, and sometimes I think that he already knows everything, yet he is still reading. I can tell you from whatever little experience I have. Like, I read Bhagavad Gita about 3 to 4 times. That's all. And each time it was a whole new experience. And now I'm currently memorizing the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. So, not to brag, but just this is my project. And I actually encourage all devotees to have shloka memorization projects, personal projects, that, okay, some goal, okay, let me memorize Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, only 11 verses, easy to memorize. Or Gita Mahatmya, only 7 verses. And Ishopanishad, 18 verses. Of course, Brahma Samhita, there are 28 verses, I think. Yeah. I mean, Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter actually has more verses, but those Govindam Adipurusha Stotra, that is 28 verses. Kunti prayers are about 18 to 43. How many is that? 26. 26 prayers of Kunti. Likewise, we have so many, like Mukundamala Stotra 53. So we have to keep ourselves projects. And so anyway, I was having this project of memorizing the Bhagavad Gita, the entire Bhagavad Gita. And I have actually kind of stalled in the middle of 6th chapter. I should resume that. So, so the first 5 chapters memorized. Now, each time I recite the entire chapter, I find newer and newer connections every time I chant, almost. Other times it's just, and actually sometimes the realization only comes after a long meditation on those verses. Like, you repeat it many, many times. And when you recite the shlokas, it should not just be Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantar praptir dhira satrana muhyati. Just like mindless chanting. No, mindful chanting. Mindful. So, pay attention to every single word that you're saying. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhira satrana muhyati. So, you have to even kind of enact it as you're saying. I mean, you can do that if you want, but that will actually help. So, eventually you will get fast. You will be able to chant the verse fast and meditate on every single word that you're saying, the meaning, and then you should know exactly what you're saying. Not just like you're chanting a string of words or sounds and then you don't actually know which word, what it means. You should know. And that's exactly why Srila Prabhupada took the trouble of translating every single word of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. How many verses is that? 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita 11,500 verses. Altogether more than 30,000 verses. Of course, last part, Srimad Bhagavatam, he did not. But let's take a round figure. 30,000 verses, he did word to word translation. Prabhupada did not have much time. He was traveling and he was managing. He could have easily said, you know what, I have temple building projects, I have traveling preaching projects, and this and that. I am old also, my age is not good. He had a million reasons, and he had letters to reply to every single day. He used to reply to multiple letters, sometimes 10, sometimes 50. So he was doing all these things, and he was translating, and he was chanting his 64 rounds, and he was preaching, and he was dealing with all the problems that happen in a society, everything, and he was writing, and he did not cut corners. He did not say, okay, you know what, I don't have time, I'll just do the translation and purport, or just the translation, at least they will have something. No. Yes, he did the kind of thing with Krishna book and teachings of Lord Caitanya, but that too he explained a lot. His purports were already like intertwined into it, and it's like a book, I mean, without the verses. But you see what he did for every single verse, word to word. And in fact, one lecture, he stresses the point. He said, why did I do all this word to word meaning? To show that I am a great Sanskrit scholar? No. I have done this as a service so that every one of you can learn the verses, each and every word. So if Prabhupada put that much effort for us to learn, and we don't make any effort on our part to learn the verses, to learn the shlokas, we don't have gratitude. That's all I can say. We don't have gratitude to what Srila Prabhupada did for us. Oh, Prabhu, my memory not good. We can say all these are excuses. we may not be able to chant thousands of verses, but we can start. And I'll tell you one thing. When you start, with each progressive verse, it will become easier and easier and easier to memorize a verse. When you see a new verse, it will be easier for you to memorize when you are in that, always in that mood of memorizing verses. And it's very fast. It takes much lesser time as you progress more and more. So in the beginning, it may take a week or 2 weeks, but then it will slowly it will become more and more easier, and you can memorize many verses in one day. So I really recommend all devotees should have, all good devotees, all serious devotees should have shloka memorization projects, personal projects. It's a must for a devotee. And your understanding of those words, those verses will deepen so much. You will appreciate those verses way more when you actually memorize the Sanskrit. Now, memorize means not just, again, with meaning. And also read the purport of the verse so that you understand the full context of the verse. Every time you chant, the meditation on the full meaning along with the purport should be there. That is memorization, proper memorization. And then you will start to see connections in this verse, and that verse, and this verse, and that verse. That's how we quote. These are realization. As you spend more time, of course, don't cut corners with your service. We should do the service, but squeeze out some time. Squeeze out some time to memorize verses. You have to squeeze. Even if it's just 5 minutes, try something. Try one line. Okay, let us see this verse. You see, I've gone off topic, but ya etat shravayén nityam yamakshanam ananyadhihi shlokam tadardham va padam padardhameva va shraddhavan yonu shrunuyat punatyatmanameva saha. 12:59 Srimad Bhagavatam. One who with undeviating attention constantly recites this literature at every moment of every hour, as well as one who faithfully hears even one verse or half a verse or a single line or even half a line, certainly purifies his very self. So if you can remember even half line of a verse and meditate on it, how much you will it will purify, and how much deeper your understanding will be, and your contemplation, your behavior, everything will be affected by that, because you are thinking deeply enough. So you will act also, because thinking, feeling and willing. First is thinking, then you will feel it, then you will will it. Will means to actually do it. So it all starts with our thinking. So smarami narayana tattvam avyayam. We have to manah phalam what is that? Gunatattva chintanam. So these verses are there in the Mukundamala Sutra just now I showed. So the mind should be engaged in always contemplating all these philosophical points. We are not in a stage where we are thinking of Radha Krishna pastimes and we're in Vrindavan serving the gopis. Please, we're not there. Let us be where we are and still be Krishna conscious. Oh, I am not there, so I am not a pure devotee, I will not need to remember Krishna, I am a third class devotee, Prabhu. No, don't just stay in the third class devotee, we have to rise up. So that means what we can do? We can remember verses, we can remember songs, Vaishnava songs. You see how beautiful the songs are, how meaningful the songs are, how deep the songs are. So even if we remember one stanza of that song, we remembered in our karmi life, we remembered so many movie songs and pop songs, rock songs, and went to rock bottom of our consciousness. Now we have to rise above, and we have to have these words are there to help us by the acharyas, by the shastra, everything. So we have to meditate, and that's how we will become Krishna conscious. That is what it is meant by this 2, 12, 13, 18. Shrinvan supathan vicharana paro. You see, tat shrinvan supathan vicharana paro bhaktya vimuchyan naraha. Shrinvan means hearing. We have to hear it. Supathan, properly chanting it. And pathan means also to study it. Chanting means actually study is involved in that. Chanting does not mean just parrot chanting. No. Study is involved in that. And then vicharana, one who is serious about understanding. So, contemplation. Shrinvan supathan vicharana paro bhaktya vimuchyan naraha. Wow. Dimitri Prabhu is doing very well. A year ago, following your advice, I started memorizing shlokas. I memorized about 90 by now. Not so much, but I do my best. That's so good. That is so good. This should inspire many devotees. 90 in 1 year. I actually, to encourage people, I will tell them, what if you can learn 100 shlokas in 1 year? That is 52 weeks, 2 shlokas per week. That's all. 2 shlokas per week. And you can play a game with other devotees. Okay? You ask me a shloka on this topic, or maybe Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 text 24. Okay, the person has to say. So like that, we can even play games like that when we are in free time. Instead of talking some rubbish gossip and we can, of course, if we have service, we'll discuss the service. But if we are just having some free time and just some time to pass, we can just play such a game. And if everybody is knowledgeable in shlokas, then it will be very, very more lively. If nobody knows any shloka, 324, don't know. 1866, don't know. 29, don't know. Anything, don't know. What is that? There's no fun like that. So, if everybody is having this, then it will be a transcendental competition and everybody will be learning more and more and then testing more and more. The more we test ourselves, the more we... And then when we're preaching, then automatically these verses will come. We have to quote the verses. That will give authority to what we say. Otherwise, they think that you're just talking out of your head. No, we have to be like the lawyer, even more so than the lawyer. We have to quote the exact references every time. So please try, learn the verses in Sanskrit, I'm telling you, in Sanskrit. You see how Prabhupada quoted? He quoted in Sanskrit. And when you know the Sanskrit, each word will have so many meanings. Like, I don't know if you have read Caitanya Charitamrita, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains to Sanatana Goswami the Atmarama verse, 61 different explanations from that one verse. Now, if you see the word-to-word translation, synonyms that Srila Prabhupada gave us, it's just one meaning of each word. But while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was explaining, many, many meanings of each words. So actually, if by the mercy of the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, we will be able to understand all the different nuances, because you see, the same verse will be quoted in many, many places. And if you observe, Srila Prabhupada, every time the translation, suppose the same verse, maybe Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Sometimes he will say, like what the translation is in the Bhagavad Gita, when he is maybe quoting in the Bhagavatam or somewhere else in a purport, he will paraphrase it in a different way. We should understand that these two are same. Not that, how come he changed the translation? He did not change the translation. And sometimes they look very different. But actually, if you see the underlying meaning, it will not be something away from the verse. That means the verse can be explained in many ways, in many contexts, in many ways. Like I'll tell you an example. Just a very small example. In a lecture, and in a couple of lectures, Srila Prabhupada used this line. And he sometimes just quotes that line, that couple of words from a verse to pinpoint that very exact point. Now you see this, say for example 262. Now you see here, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. Okay, this line. You see here, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. Now this is in this context. So how our lust, anger and all these things develop. But Prabhupada just used this line, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha, to explain a very important general principle, that according to our association, sangat. Sangha means association. Sangat means from the association. That means derived from the association. When the meaning is derived from, then at, sangat, that suffix at will be there. So you will notice all these things when you learn the Sanskrit words. And when you see something, you can already understand what it means over time. So sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamaha means desire. So our desires will be a product of it will be derived from our association. So that is a general principle. That's not only when some lust develops and then only in that context. No, it can be used in any context. Generalized principle. Okay. So according to our association, our desires develop, and according to our desires, our body develops. That's how it is. Another example, same here only. 265. You see, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, prasade, on achievement of the causeless mercy of the Lord. And how to achieve this causeless mercy? Prasadam. Prasadam here does not mean actually food. He was not referring to food, Krishna. You see, prasadam, the mercy of the Lord. The food we call prasadam because it is the mercy of the Lord. Okay? Now, but a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. So it has nothing to do with food, right? And next also, prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rasyopajayate prasanna cheta sohyashu buddhi paryavatishthate. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Now, Prabhupada, in one instance, used this 2 lines. You know what did he say? Prasade sarvadukkhanam hanir asyopajayate. He used this for the prasadam itself, the food offered to Krishna. He said, Prasade sarvadukkhanam. All miseries will be hanir, destruction, destroyed. All miseries will be destroyed just by taking prasadam. That is also true. So it has many applications, many words. So following that, I also often use this. Nasti buddhirayuktasya. See, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? But I just use this first line. Na asti buddhirayuktasya. If you know Sanskrit, it's very easy. Na asti means actually 2 words. Na asti. Asti means there is. Na asti means there is not. Buddhi means intelligence. Ayuktasya. Yuktasya means one who is connected with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service. Ayuktasya means one who is not connected with Krishna, who is not in bhakti, Krishna consciousness. He has no buddhi, no intelligence. He is an unintelligent rascal. So those who are not Krishna conscious are fools. This one line can be used. Nasti buddhirayuktasya. They have no brains. So like this, you can actually, in fact, I don't want to go into that example. Yesterday, actually, I wanted to write an article on this. I just was seeing these 2 verses. Maybe I'll just go into it. I can't control myself, so I'll just go into it. And actually, it is connected with today's topic, the desire tree of devotional service. And I was not reading because of this chapter or nothing. Actually, now only I'm reading this chapter with you. I have not read it any time before. I mean, I read when I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. But anyway, 2 days ago, I was just trying to memorize or just look at these 2 verses. Now I happen to memorize. Now you see, these 2 verses, 10, 90, 47 and 48. So 48 I memorized before. It's a summary of the whole Krishna's pastimes. Very deep meaning. But 47 was what I was actually memorizing. So now I memorize this. Tirtham chakre nriponam yadajani yadushu svasarit pada shaucham vidvit snigdha swarupam yayurajita parashrir yadarthenya yatnah yannama mangalagnam श्रुतमथ गदितं यत्कृतो गोत्रधर्मः कृष्णस्यैतन्न चित्रं क्षितिभरहरणं कालचक्रायुधस्य. Beautiful verse. Again, summary of Krishna's pastimes. These two verses are actually the summary of Krishna's pastimes. The next one actually is summary of Krishna's pastimes. This is like a summary of his glories. You can say this verse. Summary of all his glories. Now there are every single phrase is very, very meaningful. Now I was just meditating on this Gotra Dharma. So I was just Yatkrito Gotra Dharma. Okay, there is another one. Yannama Mangalagnam. Yannama Mangalagnam. Yannama Yat Nama Amangala Gnam. Gnam means to kill. Amangala means anything inauspicious. Everything inauspicious will be destroyed by just chanting his name. Yannama Mangala Gnam Shrutamata Gaditam. Shrutam means either if we hear or if we chant. Gaditam means to chant. Shrutam means to hear. So Yannama Mangala Gnam Shrutamata Gaditam. So we can just remember this. And you see last line. Kshitibhara Haranam Kala Chakrayudhasya. In the form of time, Kala Chakra, Ayudha. Ayudha means weapon. Kala Chakra. Krishna has a chakra, right? But he has just this chakra of time also, Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra Ayudhasya. With the weapon of the wheel of time, Kshitibhara Haranam. Kshiti means the earth, the world. Bhara means the weight, unnecessary burden of the earth. Haranam means destroyed, to destroy. So he destroys the burden of the earth, the unwanted population on the earth, by the wheel of time. So by the wheel of time, what happens? These three miseries come, Adhyatmik, Adhibhautik, Adhidaivik. So the wars take place, the natural calamities take place, all this happens, Kala Chakra. Yes, what is that? Sambrita Kala Chakro. What is that? Yachakshuresha savita sakalagrahanam raja samasta suramurti rasesha teja. What is that? What is the third line? Forgot like that. Let's go there. Sometimes just happens like that. Because 15:15 Krishna says, you try to be too proud, I will take all the remembrance away. Yasyagnyaya bhramati sambrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Yasyagnyaya bhramati sambrita kala chakro. So the sun is also moving according to the kala chakra, on the wheel of time. So what to speak of everything else? So Kshitibhara Haranam Kala Chakrayudhasya. So wars will happen, and like Ukraine-Russia war is happening right now. We may sympathize with it, but actually Kshitibhara Haranam is what is happening by the weapon of Krishna called the Kala Chakra. People are, sometimes it looks like, oh, this country is oppressor, this country is the oppressed, or this person is the oppressor, this person is the oppressed. But actually, what is happening behind all these scenes is their own karma. Their own karma. So, people who are being killed, if you look at their life according to Vedic perspective, they may also be engaged in, cow killing, beef eating, and illicit sex, gambling, intoxication. It's not like they are saints. So things happen by Krishna's plan. There's no doubt about it. Nothing happens without his plan. So, when the World War was happening, Prabhupada was just honoring prasadam. Honoring prasadam. Honoring prasadam. Planes were going, big sirens were going on, and then everybody was running, and Prabhupada was just honoring prasadam. Kshitibhara Haranam Kala Chakrayudhasya. Mare Krishna Rakhe Krishna Mare ke. If Krishna wants to protect someone, who can kill him? And if he wants to kill someone, who can protect him? Balasya neha sharanam pitarao narsimha. Nartasya chagatam udanvanti majjato now. So, if the Lord wants, they will be protected. If not, they will not be. So ultimately it's in the hand of the Lord. So he is just, he's not worried so much. Of course, Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi, he feels bad for others, but not on the material platform. When Arjuna was feeling bad for the Kauravas and everybody that was going to die on the battlefield, Krishna said, that is Hridaya Daurbalyam. He called him a Klaibyam. You're being a eunuch. You're not even a man. You're not even behaving like a man. Forget about a warrior. You're behaving like a eunuch. Impotent eunuch. And Hridaya Daurbalyam, Kshudram Hridaya Daur, petty weakness of heart, he called it. So if we have compassion on the material platform, that is a petty weakness of heart. But compassion for the soul is real compassion. So when things happen, big calamities, it's just Krishna's doing, that's it. Prabhupada once, one disciple asked, what to do, Prabhupada, we feel so, this thing. No, Prabhupada said, don't be concerned too much about this world. You can be concerned about your own spiritual advancement. And do your duty of spreading Krishna consciousness. Beyond that, we have no control. Krishna is doing whatever he has to do, and everybody is getting their dues, whether positive or negative. Everybody is getting their dues under Krishna's plan. So he is managing. You don't try to be the manager of what he is doing. So let him manage. So what we do is reach out to people with Krishna consciousness. That's the only answer. There's it is worrying. It worries. But both sides are wrong. It worries. When people are dying like that, it affects. Devotees will feel bad. But both sides are wrong. If you see it from a Vedic perspective, Krishna conscious perspective, spiritual perspective, everybody is committing so many sins every day. Why these things won't happen? People will blame Russia, or people will blame this and that and China, whatever, or America. But ultimately, why people are put in such situations? Their own karma. Nobody else is to be blamed. Nobody else. So if we understand these things, then we don't get into this blame game, America is bad, or Russia is bad, or China is bad, or India is bad. No. Everything is happening by the will of the Lord according to karma. The only way any difference can be made in this world is by introducing Krishna consciousness, and we have to be absolutely convinced of that fact. And to be convinced of that fact, we ourselves have to be tasting it. Otherwise, we won't be convinced. Like if I like my phone, my smartphone, I will be a free ambassador. No, the phone company doesn't have to pay me to talk about it, to advertise it. No, if I like the product, I will, at the slightest opportunity, I will speak about it. So that is the passion I will have for that product. So similarly, we will only be able to speak about Krishna consciousness spontaneously if only we are ourselves to the brim Krishna conscious. So we have to keep ourselves constantly Krishna conscious. Not like a chore. It is actually the most pleasurable thing anyway. It's not like something, take this poison. No, it's the most pleasurable thing. Susukham kartum avyayam. If we actually do it, it's actually very pleasurable. It's only until you do it that you feel, I have to do this, I have to memorize shloka. But once you start memorizing shlokas, for example, you will just be immersed in it. It is a different world. It's a different world, I'm telling you. Once you get the hang of it, it may take a while, but patience. But simple slokas are very easy to remember actually. So you start and then you will feel this thing. And then you will become a better devotee yourself, and that is the reason why Srila Prabhupada translated each and every word for us. So, going back all the way, and I was actually talking about this verse, Gotra Dharma. And today's topic is the desire tree of devotional service, which is the Parampara system. Gotra. Yatkrito Gotra Dharma. This is not Prabhupada's translations here, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary is quoted, and you see this. You see this Gotra among the lines of descent of various sages, dharma, the religious principles. Now, any Indian in India would know the word Gotra. Gotra means, okay, what lineage you are coming from. But they take it to be the family Gotra. It is like a seminal thing. But actually, there is a very, very, very profound meaning of the word Gotra. And this happens. See, why I am mentioning this is because I am talking about meditation on the verse. So you just, read a little bit and then you will start to, form all these connections. So now you see, Gotra means, which lineage, right? Usually. But you see, there is okay, let's read the translation. The heavenly Ganga or Ganges is a holy place of pilgrimage because her waters wash Lord Krishna's feet. But when the Lord descended among the Yadus, his glories eclipsed the Ganga as a holy place. Both those who hated Krishna and those who loved him attained eternal forms like his in the spiritual world. The unattainable and supremely self-satisfied goddess of fortune, for the sake of whose favor everyone else struggles, belongs to him alone. His name destroys all inauspiciousness when heard or chanted. He alone has set forth the principles of various disciplic successions of sages. This is the Gotra Dharma. He has alone set forth the principles of various disciplic successions of sages. Now, we are talking about Parampara system here in this current chapter there. What wonder is it that he, whose personal weapon is the wheel of time, relieved the burden of the earth? So, this is a summary of Krishna's glories, this verse, beautiful verse. Now, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out, this verse sums up the 10th canto by mentioning 5 special glories of Sri Krishna that even his expansions, plenary portions and incarnations do not display. So first is Krishna's reputation, and Krishna gave liberation not only to surrendered devotees but also to those who consider themselves his enemies, an example of that. And third, goddess Lakshmi belongs to him alone. Everybody wants her, but she is actually only belonging to Lord Krishna. And then fourth is the name of Krishna is superior to the name of Narayana. This mention is there. And fifth, now here, Lord Krishna solidly reinstated Dharma, the bull of religion. I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you know. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I think in the 16th chapter, the bull, Dharma in the form of a bull, was inquiring Earth, Mother Earth, who was in the form of a cow. This is the conclusion of Krishna's pastimes. And right before the beginning of Krishna's pastimes, how did Krishna's pastimes begin? Because Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, went to Lord Brahma and petitioned to him, saying that Kshitibhara Haranam has to happen. Kshitibhara Haranam. This my surface is now crowded with a burdensome population, irreligious. Who is actually a burden for her? Big mountains are not a big burden for her. A liar is a burden for her. And let's just go there briefly. You see, this verse is also there. 8.20.4. Nahya satyat paro dharma iti hovacha bhuriyam sarvam sodhumalam manye rite likaparam naram. There is nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. So such population was too much. So therefore, Mother Earth and all rogues and thieves basically. So Mother Earth went to Brahma to petition, please relieve this burden. And then Brahma went to the shore of the milk ocean and satisfied Lord Vishnu. And then Krishna came. Krishna said, okay, I will come. Vishnu said, I will come, and then you demigods, you take birth in these families, and then I will come there. So in this way the whole arrangement was done. For Kshitibhara Haranam, Kala Chakrayudhas. So for reducing this unwanted population on earth. Now, so earth was in the form of a cow, and religion is in the form of a bull. And husband should protect the wife. So the wife is like the cow is the female, and the dharma is bull is the male. So to protect the earth, the bull is required, the dharma is required. Otherwise, the earth will be finished. Now you see so much climate change and this and that. So many things are happening. War is happening. Everything is because no dharma, no bull. So Gotra. Now let's come back to that. Fifth, Lord Krishna solidly reinstated dharma, the bull of religion, on his 4 legs of compassion, austerity, cleanliness and truth. 4 legs of religion. Lord Krishna solidly reinstated. Thus, dharma could once again become Gotra, the protector of the earth, in the form of a cow. So just like mantra means what? Mantra. Tra means trayate, to protect or to deliver or to save. Trayate. Putra, again tra. Putra means son, father, son. So punnama naraka trayate iti putra. The son means, the definition is, he has to deliver or save his father from going to the hell called Pun. One hell is named called, there is a hell by the name Pun. So Punnama Naraka Trayate iti putra. The one who saves his father from going to hell is called a putra. If he does not do this, he will be a mutra. Mutra means urine. Urine and son comes from the same part of the body. So if a son does not is not worthy of that, if he doesn't fulfill that duty of saving his father from hell, then he is actually mutra. He is like the urine. So see how much meaning is there. So anyway, mantra means what? Manatrayate iti mantra. That which releases the heart from all these anxieties is mantra. So Gotra means that which protects the go or the cow. Cow protection. Gotra. And because earth also took the form of a cow, Gotra means to protect the earth. And protect the earth can happen only with dharma. And dharma can only be maintained when it is in the parampara system. 4th chapter, 2nd verse of Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara apraptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakaleneha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa sa evayam mayatedya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhakto sime sakhacheti rahasyam hi etaduttamam. So Krishna said in the 4th chapter, 2nd and 3rd verses that this parampara system is the way in which this knowledge will be passed down. If it's without parampara, sampradaya vihyanaya mantraste nishphala mataha. So any teaching received from not sampradaya, not Vaishnava, avaishnav mukhodgirnam bhutam harikathamritam shravanam naiva kartavyam sarpochishtam yathapaya. It's like the milk touched by the fangs of a serpent, lips of a serpent. It's poisonous. So it will actually be irreligious if these spiritual topics like Bhagavad Gita, if it is commented upon by a rascal, a Mayavadi, it will be futile. It will be poisonous in fact. So in that way the dharma will be gone. And in the same, as he was speaking about the parampara system, he said it was gone, it was destroyed. So that's why yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Dharma samsthapanarthaya. Dharma samsthapan means establishing religious principles. For that purpose he comes. And that how did he do? By establishing the parampara. That's why he spoke to Arjuna. Oh, this parampara was broken, Arjuna. That's why I am speaking to you again, to re-establish the principles of religion. So when dharma is there, then the female, the wife, the cow of the earth will be protected with dharma. That's why this Gotra, these lineages are actually disciplic successions, not just some seminal lineage. It used to be seminal, just like Krishna said, Imam vivasvate yogam proktava anaham avyayam vivasvan mana vepraha manur ikshvakave bravit. This is actually family descent. But abravit, prokta, that means spoken. Although it is father and son relationship. Brahma spoke to Narada. It's not that this parampara is because Narada is son of Brahma, that's why he is in the parampara. No. Because Narada, although son, he heard from Brahma, and that's why he is in the parampara. Prokta, abravit, these words are used for spoken. And okay, you see, let's see how Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains his word Gotra. Thus, Dharma could once again become Gotra, the protector of the earth. Sri Krishna also established. Now, that is one meaning of Gotra. Gotra Dharma. You see, just those two words, Gotra Dharma, how deep the meaning is. How much you understand what is Gotra, the principles of religion, the Parampara system, and the earth will be satisfied just by Dharma. So many things are just in those two words. This is what is called meditation on the verses, on the Sanskrit. If you know the Sanskrit, if you just read the English, you will miss out on all of this. Sri Krishna also established the religious function of Govardhan Puja to honor his favorite hill, the cows and the Brahmanas. He also became the hill, Gotra himself. Gotra also means hill. And because Govardhan was the shelter of the cows, is also called Gotra, Govardhan Puja. So therefore, Gotra Dharma, Yatkrito Gotra Dharma. He is the one who induced the Vrindavan Vasis to worship Govardhan hill. So that is Dharma. In Dharma, their Dharma was to worship Indra. But no, Gotra Dharma. Worship the Govardhan hill. No need Indra. So that is another name, another meaning of Gotra. Now, assuming its form to accept the cowherds' offerings. Moreover, he cultivated the dharma or loving nature of Vraja's divine cowherds, Gotras, whose love for him has never been equaled. So the cowherd boys, they were taking care of the calves in the pasturing fields, right? So because they were the protector of the cows, they are also called Gotras, Gotra Dharma. He cultivated the dharma or loving nature of Vraja's divine cowherds. So although he took birth in the Kshatriya family, but he came to the Vaishya family to do Gotra business, to protect the cows. And he took birth in Kshatriya family because he wanted to be inferior to the Brahmanas and serve the Brahmanas, like Sudama Vipra. So he wanted to serve the Go Brahmana Hitacha, Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Brahmanya Devaya means what? Who is worshipped by the Brahmanas and who worships Brahmanas. Two meanings. Brahmanya means service to Brahmanas, is also called Brahmanya. And Devaya means the Lord of the Brahmanas. And he for whom Brahmanas are the Lord. He who worships Brahmanas. So, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. He is concerned about the welfare for Go and Brahmana. Cows and Brahmanas. Because protection of cows and Brahmanical culture will protect religion as a whole. Because if Brahmanas are there, they will protect the religion. Qualified Brahmanas, not the seminal Brahmanas. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagad Hitaya. Hitaya means well-wisher. Because you may ask, hey, why is he only a well-wisher of cows and Brahmanas? What about the others? He is not a well-wisher. No, Jagad Hitaya. Jagad Hitaya. He is a well-wisher of the whole universe. But the universe will be taken care of very well if Go and Brahmana are taken care of very well. If cows and Brahmanas are taken care of very well, Brahmanical culture that means, then automatically everything will be in place. You see that? So that was, that is Gotra, disciplic succession actually. And to get some more insight into this, there is this 12th canto, 7th chapter. You can see how Vyasadeva, actually it starts from 6th chapter itself. You see here. Okay, this is actually a point which I made earlier. You see, Sarpa Chauragni Vidyubhya Kshutridyadhyadibhir Nirpa Panchatvam Richate Jantur Bhunkta Arabdha Karmatat. When a conditioned soul is killed by snakes, thieves, fire, lightning, hunger, disease, or anything else, he is experiencing the reaction of his own past work. So we can blame this and that, but actually he is only suffering his own past work. But anyway, that was not my point. My point is, you see, 12.636. Shaunakrishi said, O gentle Suta, please narrate to us how Paila and other greatly intelligent disciples of Srila Vyasadeva, who are known as the standard authorities of Vedic wisdom, spoke and edited the Vedas. Suta Goswami said, O Brahmana, first the subtle vibration of transcendental sound appeared from the sky of the heart of the most elevated Lord Brahma, whose mind was perfectly fixed in spiritual realization. One can perceive this subtle vibration when one stops all external hearing. By worship of this subtle form of the Vedas, O Brahmana, mystic sages cleanse their hearts of all contamination caused by impurity of substance, activity and doer, and thus they attain freedom from repeated birth and death. From that transcendental subtle vibration arose the Omkara, composed of three sounds, A, U and Ma. The Omkara has unseen potencies and manifests automatically within a purified heart. It is a representation of the Absolute Truth in all three of its phases, the Supreme Personality, the Super Soul, Supreme Soul and the Supreme Impersonal Truth. So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. This Omkara, ultimately non-material and imperceptible, is heard by the Super Soul without his possessing material ears or any other material senses. The entire expanse of Vedic sound is elaborated from Omkara, which appears from the soul within the sky of the heart. It is the direct designation of the self-originating Absolute Truth, the Super Soul, and is the secret essence and eternal seed of all Vedic hymns. Actually, from Om, every other sound, every other word, everything comes. Now, again, you will understand this if you understand the Sanskrit alphabet. I have actually done this in the Shloka learning course. I think the second video, second episode of that series, 7-part series. So there I mentioned the scientific nature of Sanskrit alphabet. And in that, if you see Om, it is A, U and Ma. And if you see, A is the beginning of all sound. Akara is the beginning of all sound. Every other sound is actually coming from A. A is unobstructed sound. Unobstructed pure sound is A. When you move the different parts of your mouth in different ways, the same A become I, all these, because I am moving my mouth differently. Is this the same sound from here? But then I stop it, it becomes a consonant. Like from with which part of the tongue I stop it, at which place, the different sounds will come out. That's why vowels are actually, what is that called? Consonants are called sparsha. Sparsha means touch. Why consonants are called sparsha? Because the sound from the larynx is coming and there is a touch of the tongue with the upper palate somewhere, from back to the front all the way to the lips. Like ka, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. That is, the tongue is touching away at the back there. Ka, ka. And cha, 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 ja, jha, nya. So that is much more front, in the middle. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. That is also in the same as cha, cha, but the tongue is rolled up. Then ta, tha, da, dha, na. The tongue is at the dentals. These are called dentals. Dental sound. Just behind the teeth. And pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. That is the final. So from the ka all the way to ma. So you see the place at which the tongue is touching the top of the palate is different, and then different sounds are produced. So actually it is all coming from A. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am Akara. You see here, Aksharanam akarosmi dvandvah Samasikasya cha ahamevakshayah kalo dhataham vishvato mukhah. Of letters, I am the letter A. Actually, it is not A. It is English alphabet. Actually, A. Akara, the first letter. A, I, U. So first is vowels. So this is Akara because that is the originator of all sounds. Now, A is starting. U, Om. I'm talking about Om now. A, U, and Ma. U is actually controlling with the lips. U. A, E. It's controlled with the. It's not touching, but this thing is very near to the palate, the tongue. U is the sound is controlled or controlled by the lips. U. So A, U, and Ma. Ma is the Papa Babha Ma. You see, like the end, starting to the end. And of course, Yara, Lava, Sesha, Saha, all this Ksha is there. But the movement from here to here. So all this is the originating factor of all sounds. Om. That's why from Om everything comes. So if you actually see and if you try to understand, you will understand that actually all these make so much sense. That's why Sanskrit alphabet is very, very, very scientific. After this, you see English alphabet, it just looks like chaos, complete barbarian. A, B, C, D. There's no order. Whereas in the Sanskrit alphabet, it's complete scientific order. And we will understand our voice system also, the anatomy of our voice box. Everything we will understand just by learning Sanskrit alphabet. How wonderful is that, right? So yeah, what I was saying is Omkara exhibited the three original sounds of the alphabet, A, U, and Ma. So these three, O most eminent descendant of Bhrigu, sustain all the different threefold aspects of material existence, including the three modes of material nature, the names of the Rig, Yajur, and Samavedas, the goals known as Bhur, Bhuva, and Swar, the three planetary systems, earthly, sub-heavenly, and non-heavenly, and the three functional platforms called waking consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep. So all these are controlled by the word Om. Now, from that Omkara, Lord Brahma created the sounds of the alphabet, the vowels, consonants, semi-vowels, sibilants, and others, distinguished by such features as long and short measure. So just now I explained a little bit of that. All-powerful Brahma made use of this collection of sounds to produce from his four faces the four Vedas, which appeared together with the sacred Omkara and the 7 Vyahriti invocations. His intention was to propagate the process of Vedic sacrifice according to the different functions performed by the priests of each of the 4 Vedas. Brahma taught these Vedas to his sons, who were great sages among the Brahmanas and experts in the art of Vedic recitation. They in turn took the role of Acharyas and imparted the Vedas to their own sons. So at that time, although it was their sons, it was not actually sons. Those sons became the disciples also. Now you see, I am talking about the parampara, how it is descending. See now. In this way, throughout the cycles of the 4 ages, generation after generation of disciples, all firmly fixed in their spiritual vows, have received these Vedas by disciplic succession. Let's see, any word is there. In Shishyai, the disciples. This is not just seminal lineage. No, it is Shishyai, disciples. At the end of each Dwapara-yuga, the Vedas are edited into separate divisions by eminent sages. Observing that people in general were diminished in their lifespan, strength, and intelligence by the influence of time, great sages took inspiration from the personality of Godhead sitting within their hearts and systematically divided the Vedas. In fact, the word Vyasa means one who divides. Vyasadev means one who divided the Vedas. Actually, Veda is one, knowledge. Veda means knowledge. So he divided them into 4 and then subdivisions. So many subdivisions you will see now. O Brahmana, in the present age of Vaivasvata Manu, the leaders of the universe led by Brahma and Shiva requested the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the protector of all the worlds, to save the principles of religion. O most fortunate Shaunaka, the Almighty Lord, exhibiting a divine spark of a portion of his plenary portion, then appeared in the womb of Satyavati as the son of Parashar. In this form, named Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, he divided the one Veda into 4. So Vyasa. The Vyasa means one who divides. So he divided one way then. So he was actually, why he came? Shiva and Brahma requested this personality of Godhead in the Vaivasvata Manu age to save the principles of religion. And the Lord answered the prayers by taking, appearing as a portion of his plenary portion. Actually, it's Shakti-avesh avatar. Then, Srila Vyasadeva separated the mantras of the Rig, Atharva, Yajur and Samavedas into 4 divisions, just as one sorts out a mixed collection of jewels into piles. So, a mixed collection of anything, then divide them into categories. Okay, thus he composed 4 distinct Vedic literatures. The most powerful and intelligent Vyasadeva called 4 of his disciples, O Brahmana, and entrusted to each of them one of these 4 samhitas. Now you see, this is how the disciplic succession went, and Gotra actually started from here. All these different sages, which lineage you come from, this is actually from here. So 12, 6, 52, 53. Now, Sri Vyasadeva taught the first Samhita, the Rig Veda, to Paila and gave this collection the name Bahuvricha. Actually, it's Bahuricha. Together it becomes Bahuvricha. To the sage Vaishampayana, he spoke the collection of Yajur mantras named Nigada. He taught the Samaveda mantras designated as the Chandoga Samhita to Jaimini, and he spoke the Atharva Veda to his dear disciple Sumantu. So each of them were given in charge of a Veda and become experts in it. He gave in charge to he gave one Veda to each of these 4 disciples. After dividing his Samhita into 2 parts, the wise Paila, who is a disciple of Vyasa, now we have in our succession Vyasa's disciple as Madhvacharya. But apart from Madhvacharya, Vyasa have so many other disciples. So one of them was Paila, and all the others, Sumantu and Jaimini, all these were disciples of Vyasadeva. So after dividing his Samhita into 2 parts, the wise Paila spoke it to Indra Pramiti and Bashkala. Bashkala further divided his collection into 4 parts. Look at this now. how much detailed study they are doing. Bashkala further divided his collection into 4 parts, O Bhargava, and instructed them to his disciples Bodhya, Yajnavalkya, Parashara and Agnimitra. This Parashara is not Vyasadeva's father, it's another Parashara. Indra Pramiti, the self-controlled sage, taught his Samhita to the learned mystic Mandukeya, whose disciple Devamitra later passed down the divisions of the Rig Veda. Passed down the divisions of the Rig Veda to Saubhari and others. The son of Mandukeya, named Shakalya, divided his own collection into 5, entrusting one subdivision each to Vatsya, Mudgala, Shaliya, Gokhalya and Shishira. The sage Jatukarnya was also a disciple of Shakalya, and after dividing the Samhita he received from Shakalya into 3 parts, he added a 4th section, a Vedic glossary. He taught one of these parts to each of 4 disciples, Balaka, the second Paila, Jabala and Viraja. Bashkali assembled the Valakhilya Samhita, a collection from all the branches of Rig Veda. This collection was received by Valayani, Bhajya and Kashara. Thus, these various Samhitas of the Rig Veda were maintained through disciplic succession by these saintly Brahmanas. Simply by hearing of this distribution of the Vedic hymns, one will be freed from all sins. You see how the Vedic hymns were distributed in this parampara systems, and each of them were just studying one part of a part, like that. The disciples of Vaishampayana became authorities in the Atharva Veda. They became known as Charakas because they executed strict vows to free their guru from his sin of killing a Brahmana. Once Yajnavalkya, one of the disciples of Vaishampayana, said, "O Master, how much benefit will be derived from the feeble endeavours of these weak disciples of yours? I will personally perform some outstanding penance and save you." Addressed thus, the spiritual master Vaishampayana became angry and said, "Go away from here. Enough of you, O disciple who insults Brahmanas. Furthermore, you must immediately give back everything I have taught you." Yajnavalkya, the son of Devarata, then vomited the mantras of the Yajur Veda and went away from there. The assembled disciples, looking greedily upon these Yajur hymns, assumed the form of partridges and picked them all up. These divisions of the Yajur Veda therefore became known as the most beautiful Taittiriya Samhita, the hymns collected by the partridges, Tittiraha. Taittiriya Upanishad also is there. It's actually because of this. So there is so much history behind all these things. My dear Brahmana, Shaunaka, Yajnavalkya then desired to find out new Yajur mantras unknown to even his spiritual master. With this in mind, he offered attentive worship to the powerful Lord of the Sun. So in this way, anyway, you can actually read. It's very, very interesting. In fact, it goes even more, and then it goes to next chapter also. So you can see how each of these sages have studied a particular portion of the Vedas and really deeply studied them, and then handed it down, divided them and handed it down to their disciples. Now, so as I was thinking of these Gotra Dharma, those two words in that verse, so I did all this reading. I was reading through all of this, and I was thinking, wow, every morning we sing that verse. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipunao Sadharma Samsthapako. The 6 Goswamis, Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipunao Sadharma Samsthapako. They have studied all these Vedas, all these different Vedic literatures. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipunao. Expertly, scrutinizingly studying all the Vedas. They have collected all the necessary evidences from all these scriptures and presented the highest Saddharma, not Asadharma, Saddharma Samsthapaka, to establish Dharma Samsthapanarthaya, same as Krishna's mission. Devotee's mission is also same, Saddharma Samsthapaka. So you see, these many sages were studying all the Vedas, different parts of Vedas. Now the 6 Goswamis studied all these different literatures, and they established the books like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Upadeshamrita, and of course Chaitanya Charitamrita. Of course, Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, by the mercy of the 6 Goswamis. Now, so many Hari Bhakti Vilas, so many books they have written. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava. There is no end. And similarly, the Vaishnava Acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, and I mean, just see how much work they have done to give us all these things. So, just by those 2 words, Gotra Dharma, in that verse, how much depth we can go to. Gotra Dharma. Like that, each of those words in that verse can go into great, great depth. So this is what is called meditation on the verses. I mean, it leads you to another thought, and then you do some investigation on that, and then wow, it leads to another, and this way, all these connections will greatly strengthen our own understanding of the subject matter very thoroughly, very grip. Like the root, the tree. Under the tree, the roots. This root system is not just like one root coming. No, the root is a network, and it holds tightly onto the ground. It's a huge network, and sometimes when there are many, many trees in the forest, the roots are intertwined underneath the ground. It's like huge intertwining of the roots and everything. It keeps the earth stable, right? So, our understanding will be deep rooted if we have all this spreading out of our, our understanding deeply. Then our tree of our devotion can actually stand firmly, and then the trunk, will be nourished, will nourish the entire tree from the roots, and then the branches and everything, the shade, the tree can give shade to others. If it can stand first itself properly, if the tree cannot stand properly, then what shade it will give others, what fruit it will give others, from what flowers it will give others. So we have to serve others. Yes, paropakar. We have to do paropakar. But janma sarthak kori karo paropakar. We can only help others when our own life is first of all saved. When our life is perfect. Of course, we don't wait. Perfection means to follow the orders of the spiritual master. So when we are established in devotional service, we have to share it with others. So this tree will serve others with not only flowers, fruits, the shade, and also wood. So the tree is serving others, but it is able to serve because it has such a vast network of leaves, so that it can serve more people. But that is because it has a very wide network of branches, and that's because it has a very strong trunk, and that is because it has an extensive root system, deep rooted system. So the visible portion is the trunk and the branches and the leaves, but the invisible portion is the root of the tree, and that root has to be very, very strong in order for us to do any service in this world, Krishna conscious service. So we have to be very strong with our roots. That's why our roots, where are the roots? These verses. These are the root of our understanding. So everything, this is our evidence, this is our life. Our meditation should be, this is called manah phalam tad gunatattva chintanam. Smarami narayana tattvam avyayam. Always thinking of the infallible philosophy of Narayana, of Krishna. So that's why I encourage you to learn those slokas. So anyway, that was a huge kind of detour. Let's come back to today's verse. We went somewhere very far away. We went, but I hope it was helpful. It's going to be 10 o'clock. We will continue a little bit. Okay, Divya Mata is asking, Prabhuji, bhakti is like a lata or a tree? Yes, of course. I mean, it's lata. And I'm just giving an example of a tree, like tarorapi sahishnuna, right? We have to be tolerant as a tree. And tolerant means we have to provide service to others while tolerating all the, climatic changes or even man-made, cutting the tree or, breaking the branches, pruning or whatever. So for that to happen, see, bhakti is like a lata, but tree also we can learn from, right? That's why tarorapi sahishnuna. So titikshavaha karunikaha suhrida sarvadehina. The suhrida sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sadhava sadhubhushana. 3:25-21 Srimad Bhagavatam. The qualities of a sadhu are that, first of all, two things are titikshava and karunika. That is a tree. Titiksha means very, very tolerant, and karunika means very merciful, always for the service of others. So that's a tree actually does like that. So we can learn those two things, titikshava and karunika, from a tree. Even in the cold winters, especially those cold countries, the temperature is like from minus 30 to plus 40, 70 degrees variance of, and it goes through all of that, and still provides fruits, flowers, even scenery. Actually, even to look at greenery, it's very soothing to the eyes. So that is also a service. So the world will be beautiful if people become devotees, and strong devotees, deep rooted devotees. I take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself is the tree of transcendental love of Krishna, its gardener, and also the bestower and enjoyer of its fruits. It's very nice. In fact, it's very each of these can be explained in a very detailed manner. See, he is the tree of transcendental love. He is its gardener. He is the bestower, and he is the enjoyer of it also. And in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's form, he enjoyed, and that's what we actually learned in great detail. And when we were, I think in the chapter 4 of Adilila, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was trying to enjoy or experience the bliss of Radharani, based on the verses 5 and 6 of first 14 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the first 14 important verses. The 5th and 6th verses are the internal reasons of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, and that is actually what is meant by enjoyer of its fruits. So that is a huge topic in itself. And bestower is the 4th shloka of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anarpita charim chirat karunaya vatirnah kalau. That verse. So in that, how he is bestowing this thing. That whole chapter, the 3rd chapter, is full of that. So in this way, you can actually, this one verse can be, it's like a summary of the entire thing that we have read so far. So, Prabhu kohe ami vishwam bhar naam dhari, naam sarthak hoy jadi preme vishwa bhari, Lord Chaitanya thought, my name is Vishwambhar, one who maintains the entire universe. Its meaning will be actualized if I can fill the whole universe with love of Godhead. Now, this is the meaning of Vishwambhar. Vishwambhar means one who maintains the universe. Of course, he is maintaining. I mean, what is that? Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. He is the maintainer of not only one but millions of universes. And that's just this material world, but even the spiritual world. He is the maintainer of everything and everyone. But in this particular thing, context, Vishwambhar means, that song by Vasudeva Ghosh. Vasudeva Ghosh, yeah. Jadi gaur na hoito, tabe ki hoito, kemone dharitam de, Radhar Mahima, Prema Rasa Sima, Jagate Janato Ke. Beautiful song. Jadi Gaur na hoito. If Gauranga Mahaprabhu did not come, what would have happened to the world? How would we have maintained our bodies? So this maintenance, so in other words, where is the bliss? We will be like, we will be living, but living dead. Jivan Chava. Jivan Chava, that word is used in the Bhagavatam. Two 3:23. Jivan chavo bhagavatangri renum najatu martyo bhilabheta yastu Shri Vishnu padya manujastu lasya shvasan chavo yastu naveda gandham. So Jivan chava means, Jivan means while living, Shava means dead, living dead, ghost. In fact, according to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the breathing dead body is a ghost. When a man dies, he is called dead, but when he again appears in the subtle form, not visible to our present vision, and yet acts, such a dead body is called a ghost. Ghosts are always very bad elements, always creating a fearful situation for others. Similarly, the ghost-like non-devotees who have no respect for the pure devotees nor for the Vishnu deity in the temples create a fearful situation for the devotees at all times. Beautiful explanation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is called meditation on the verses. Jivan Chava. You should remember this. These phrases are like, they carry so much meaning. So Lord never accepts any offering by such impure ghosts. So ghost, a person who is not having Krishna consciousness, he is a ghost. Ghostly on it. So, Jivan Chava, so Kemone Dharitam De, Vasudeva Ghosh is saying, Vasudeva Ghosh or Vasudeva Datta, one of them. So, he's saying, how would we have maintained our bodies? So we'll be like dead people almost, living dead. So he has given us life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by introducing the Sankirtan movement. This is the life of the world. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Jivanam. So this is the life. Pran Ache Jar She Hetu Prachar. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, those who have life, they can preach. That means those who are Krishna conscious, alive, those who are alive in Krishna conscious, they can preach. So, he, Vishwambhar, means the maintainer. He is maintaining us with his devotional service. Apart from regular maintenance of our bodies, in a technical way, but the real deepest hunger and thirst of the soul is actually Anandamayo Bhyasa, love of Godhead, the bliss that is only gotten by love of Godhead. That is the deepest, in the deepest recesses of the soul, the thirst is this. And that is the real thing is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just by giving this bodily maintenance, the souls are not becoming happy. Krishna is maintaining everybody, yes, no doubt. And he is maintaining according to their, whatever their mentality. But in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's form, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurat Vishenamaha. So he is giving, even though the other person is unwilling, he is still giving him love of Godhead and thus maintaining his soul. Whereas the other maintenance that the super soul is doing, Paramatma, is the maintenance of the body. The soul is hungry all the time. The super soul in our maintenance of in the material world is providing us all the material things. for us to sustain in this world, but not the real food for the soul, which is love of Godhead. In Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation, he gave. That is, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, my name is Vishwambhar, one who maintains the entire universe. Its meaning will be actualized if I can fill the whole universe with love of Godhead. Eto chinti laila prabhu malakar dharma navadvipe arambhila phalodhyana karma. Malakar dharma, the business of a gardener. Phalodhyana karma. Thinking in this way, he accepted the duty of a planter and began to grow a garden in Navadvip. Ishodhyan. Shri Chaitanya Malakar Prithvi Te Ani Bhakti Kalpataru Ropila Shinchi Ichha Pani. Thus the Lord brought the desired tree of devotional service to this earth and became its gardener. He sowed the seed and sprinkled upon it the water of his will. Purport. In many places, devotional service has been compared to a creeper. One has sowed the seed of the devotional creeper, Bhaktilata, within his heart. As he regularly hears and chants, the seed will fructify and gradually grow into a mature plant and then produce the fruit of devotional service, namely love of Godhead, which the gardener, Malakar, can then enjoy without impediments. Malakar Dharma. So a devotee has to be a Malakar, a good gardener. We have to, grow the seed of devotion that is given to us by Guru Krishna Prasadapaya, by mercy of Guru and Krishna. Jaya Shri Madhavpuri Krishna Premapur Bhakti Kalpatarur Teho Prathama Ankur. All glories to Sri Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of all devotional service unto Krishna. He is the desired tree of devotional service, and it is in him that the seed of devotional service first fructified. Purport. Sri Madhavendra Puri, also known as Sri Madhav Puri, belonged to the disciplic succession from Madhvacharya and was a greatly celebrated sannyasi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the third disciplic descendant from Sri Madhavendra Puri. The process of worship in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya was full of ritualistic ceremonies with hardly a sign of love of Godhead. Sri Madhavendra Puri was the first person in that disciplic succession to exhibit the symptoms of love of Godhead and the first to write a poem beginning with the words Ayidina Dayardranatha, O Supremely Merciful Personality of Godhead. In that poem is the seed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cultivation of love of Godhead. You know how beautiful this verse is? Ayidina Dayardranatha hai. It's a beautiful. Actually, I've memorized this verse. Ayidina Dayardranatha hai Mathuranatha Pada. I forgot a little bit. Ayidina Dayardranatha hai. Ayidina Dayardranatha hai Mathuranatha Kadavalokya se Hridayam Tvadaloka Kataram Dayita Brahmyati Kim Karomyaham. This is a beautiful verse that Madhavendra Puri was chanting as he was leaving his body. It's such a heartfelt prayer of Madhavendra Puri. He's saying, O my master, O most merciful master, O master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? Ai Dina Dayardra Natha hai Mathura Natha Kadavalokya se. What can I say now? When shall I see you? Hridayam Tvad Aloka Kataram. Kataram means very much aggrieved by not seeing you. Dayita Brahmyati Kim Karomyaham. What shall I do? What shall I do now? So this is the stage where, that is that 7th verse of Shikshashtakam. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam. Without Krishna, whole universe is shunya, empty. What shall I do now? When somebody passes away, People cry, oh, what will I do now without you, something like that. This is actually a perverted reflection of the real feeling of separation from the Lord, which is actually a transcendental ecstatic symptom, which is in fact more ecstatic than even meeting Krishna. What is that verse? Paddyavali, there is a nice verse. Meeting and separation. Of that, separation is better than meeting. I just not remembering the word. It's 240th verse of the Paddyavali. It is Sangama viraha vikalpe varamiha viraho nasangamantasya ekasya eva sange tribhuvanamapi tanmayam virahe. That is the verse. So, Sangama viraha vikalpe varamiha viraho nasangamantasya ekasya eva sange tribhuvanamapi tanmayam virahe. So, the verse is, if I compare meeting Krishna and being away from Krishna, I prefer to be away from Krishna, because when I meet Krishna, I only see him in one place, which is in front of me. But when he is not there in front of me, the whole world is filled with Krishnas only. Everywhere I see is only Krishna. So seeing millions of Krishna or Krishna everywhere is better than seeing him in one place, and therefore I prefer to be separated from Krishna. Look at this. I mean, this is from the Paddyavali, Rupa Goswami. Actually, it's not compiled by Rupa Goswami. It's an anthology of verses. Paddyavali is basically Rupa Goswami collected verses from different devotees and compiled into a book. And this author of this particular verse is unknown. From where he collected, we do not know, but he collected it. 240th verse in the Paddyavali. Paddyavali has a total of 392 verses, and this was the 240th verse. So it's a beautiful verse. So that is actually the service and separation, vipralambha bhava, the mood of separation, which is even greater ecstasy than meeting. So here, this is Madhya Lila 4197. So Prabhupada is mentioning this verse here. Madhavendra Puri, and he was the first to write a poem beginning with the words I Dina Dayardra Natha hai, Mathura Natha. So his focus was on Vrindavan pastimes, Mathura, Vrindavan, the Radha Krishna love. Vrindavan is known for Radha Krishna love, Vraja. So this Radha Krishna love was started by Madhavendra Puri in the entire Sampradaya. Before that, they were not worshipping Radharani. Madhavendra Puri started. So this Madhurya Rasa was initiated by Madhavendra Puri. Shri Ishvara Puri Rupe Ankura Pushta Hoila Apane Caitanya Mali Skandha Upajila. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Shri Ishvara Puri, and then the gardener himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became the main trunk of the tree of devotional service. Wow. Long one. I think we will stop here, 10 o'clock. We will read this next session. So I hope it was a little bit helpful. So I'll take any questions right now, and then we will wrap up the session. Divya Mataji is asking, Prabhuji, we must do services to purify ourselves, but not for any credit or pride to deliver others or as if we are giving knowledge to others about Krishna. I have a question here. Similarly, as above, should we think about living our life too? Like living to purify ourselves? Should we not think about living life for others? Then how can we relate selflessness here? Are we living our life only for ourselves, trying to go back home, or for others' welfare by spreading Krishna consciousness? How should we consider our life? To live for ourselves or others? Actually, the empowered personality, the preacher, Srila Prabhupada, and similar acharyas in our parampara, they are self-sufficient in their devotional service, and they have come to spread the mercy of Krishna by distributing Krishna consciousness. Now they are living for others purely. In our case, we are engaged in preaching activity. At least for myself, I can say I'm not on the first class platform. I'm not even on the second class platform. I'm on the third class platform. Third class is a big deal actually. It's like a third position on the Olympics. That is itself of course, third class is not a very high standard. So we are actually preaching to purify ourselves. The effect on others is happening because we are repeating the words of a pure devotee who is self-realized, and we are purifying ourselves as we are speaking those words. This is the good thing about devotional service. The speaker and the hearer both get purified. And should we think of ourselves or others? I would say think of ourselves. Think of ourselves. Because if we can't even think of ourselves, like for example, if I want to become a lifeguard, if I want to save people who are drowning, should I think of them or should I think of myself? Yes, think of them. But if I myself don't know how to swim, how can I save them? So I have to concentrate on my own skills. So similarly, if we want to become a worthy instrument in the plan of Srila Prabhupada, in the plan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, just like if I want to be a good knife in the hand of Prabhupada, a tool has to be good. If my knife is, suppose I am cutting something and my knife is not sharp, it's not a good tool. So I have to be a good tool in the hands of Prabhupada. So I have to sharpen myself for engaging effectively. I mean, we cannot adequately serve Srila Prabhupada, but at least we should do to our best capacity, right? We cannot be a fool and bring disrepute to Prabhupada. Like, for example, in ISKCON, now there is so much Mayavad preaching is also going on, gurus falling down. This is what is this? This is disrepute to Prabhupada. If I am a fool, if I become a so-called disciple and I remain a fool and I disobey and act like an idiot, that brings disrepute to Prabhupada. You see, like for example, if people come to know that all these things that happen in ISKCON, there is child abuse, there is sex scandals and money scandals and all kind of even philosophy scandals and people preaching Mayavad and nonsense. If people come to know this, then this Prabhupada's movement is all these guys are all not very strict in that thing. So Prabhupada will get a bad name. So a disciple should consider himself a fool, but he should not actually remain a fool. He should be the greatest example, so that just by seeing him, his spiritual master will get the credit. So we have to focus on ourselves. We are not these big world preachers to deliver the whole world. No, we are not. Prabhupada is the one. Yes. We are trying to even struggle in our own spiritual life. What help we will do to others? If I am struggling to swim, what can I save others? I cannot. I can throw the lifeboat or a life raft or something like that, like a life buoy or something like that. Then people can maybe grab onto that. But given by Srila Prabhupada, the captain of the boat from which this life buoys are thrown, that is Prabhupada, and then they come on board. So I have to become a proper instrument first, a proper instrument in the hands of Prabhupada, in the hands of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. So Prabhupada in fact asked, one disciple asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, sometimes you say that we have to go back to Godhead, and sometimes you say that Janmani Janmani Ishvara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said we have to, even in life after life, we have to, think of spreading the movement and be a devotee. What should we think? Should we think of coming back life after life and participating in the preaching mission, or go back to Godhead? Prabhupada said, you go back to Godhead. You are not for this. You are not cut for this. You go back. That is meant for special breed, like Srila Prabhupada. But we have to preach, and preaching is for our own purification, because Prabhupada asked to preach. Whatever we know, if we repeat, that is potent preaching, as it is, if we repeat. And by repeating as it is, because Prabhupada's instruction was to preach, and by following that instruction, we become purified. So the preaching is for our own purification. If I preach strongly about Krishna consciousness, I will be purified. Whether that person accepts it or not, that doesn't matter at all. Prabhupada said, my authority is my Guru Maharaj and Krishna. I don't care for the world. If they follow the instruction that I am repeating from them, the world will automatically be cared for. I don't have to succumb to their viewpoints and their way of understanding. No. They have to come to our thing. That is preaching. We have to change their point of view to our point of view. Not that we have to adapt our point of view to their point of view. No need. That is compromise. That means we are accepting them. We are getting preached to by them. So, we have to strengthen ourselves. Focus on ourselves. And the added advantage of focusing on ourselves is, suppose, like for example, Sundar Gopal Prabhu, he does his sadhana. Every day morning he is waking up at 2:30 a.m. and chanting his rounds. He is doing this for his own, Krishna consciousness. But just by seeing that example, we are getting inspired. Everyone is getting inspired. So just by taking care of ourselves, we will automatically take care of everybody else by inspiring them also. So if I want to help others, I have to follow myself. If I follow, I will automatically help them, because they will be inspired and they will also do it. Right? So I have to focus on myself. So, and if I think I can focus on others and I will have to deliver this world, I am having ego. If I am thinking I am a big Jagat Guru here and I am delivering the world now, I am having ego trip. And I will trip and fall. So, I have to focus on myself and be humble. You see, all acharyas, all world preachers, Prabhupada, when he went to America, he did not say, I have arrived. The great preacher has arrived on the western shores, and Paschatya Desha Tarine will happen now. Prithivete Achujata Nagaradigram is in my hands. I am doing it. I have come. No. Krishna, I do not know why you have sent me here. My name is Bhakti-vedanta, but I am neither, I don't have bhakti, neither am I a scholar in Vedanta. I am a useless person for all practical purposes. I am a beggar. Only for following the order of my Guru Maharaj I have come. Without any qualification I have come. Krishna, if you so desire, if you show me any mercy, please make the power of my speech suitable for their understanding. And then he preached. Focus on himself. Please make me a servant. In fact, he said, please make me dance and make me dance as you like. Let me be a puppet in your hand, Krishna. That is the mood. It's not that I am going to save the world. That will happen by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy already. And of course, the Vaishnava is actually only a person in that mood can actually do that kind of work. So we have to just be humble and focus on refining our own bhakti, our own relationship with Krishna. How can I become better? How can I become better? What is my faults? Broom. Hit my mind with the broom and shoe every single day. And actually I am telling you, when we learn the verses, Sanskrit verse, it will be a huge hit on our mind. Huge. Broomstick, smashing our head. Actually. Because it will keep us grounded. Because if you really understand the verse, then this is the standard. Where am I? I am nowhere. So like that I'll realize my own, what is my standard. And especially those Vaishnava songs, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, hey man, hey दुष्ट मन, तुम्ही किसेर वैष्णव, प्रतिष्ठार तारे निर्जनेर घरे, तब हरिनाम केवल कायतव. He said, hey दुष्ट, hey rascal mind, what do you think you are? Huh? You think you are a big Vaishnav? Oh, just for getting some cheap adoration from general public, you are chanting, making a big show of chanting. Nirjaner ghare tava harinam keval, all your chanting is just cheating only. Rascal. Beating the mind. So if we learn all these verses, then of course it will be good beating for our mind. And verses is one thing, of course, service attitude. It's not just, oh Prabhu, I'm chanting, I'm reciting verses, don't ask me any service. My service is now reciting verses. Such a person can never understand the verses. He has to do service. And then learn the verses. In whatever time he can fit in. Whatever few minutes, learn some verse. Meditate on the meaning. Like that. All good devotees, as we declared, now everyone tries a lot to be good devotees, Prabhuji. Yeah, be good devotee. Good devotee means the character must be there, no? Sadhu Bhushana. What are the ornaments of a sadhu? He doesn't wear big gold chain and all these flashy things. What is his ornament? His behavior. Maryada Rakshana hoy Sadhur Bhushan. So that is the ornament of a sadhu. Etiquette, maintenance of Vaishnava etiquette. So one can see what is a good devotee and what is not. Dimitri Prabhu is saying, what I love the most in memorizing shlokas is that they sometimes pop up in my mind in different situations so that I can see things according to that shloka. So called preaching to myself. And that's exactly the point. Shlokas are to preach to ourselves, not to others. Shlokas are to preach to ourselves. Actually, you see, when Arjuna's mind was, distraught in Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna left, his mind was just going, reeling, and how did he anchor his mind? Arjuna could not handle the sorrow that came with separation from Krishna, because Krishna left this world. Arjuna could not take it. He was remembering all those pastimes and he was getting greatly afflicted, and then he remembered this. Desha kalartha yuktani hirtapopashamani cha haranti smarataschitam govinda bhihitani me. And now I am attracted to those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead Govinda, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. In all circumstances of time and space. The teachings of Bhagavad Gita he remembered now. Arjuna is remembering the Bhagavad Gita instructions, and that is giving him relief. Instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space, even at the time of death. Prabhupada was reading Bhagavad Gita and said, one devotee entered the room and Prabhupada said, if you just read this one book Bhagavad Gita, you will become perfectly Krishna conscious. One day he was reading Nectar of Devotion, when a devotee came up, if you read this just one book, Nectar of Devotion, you will become perfectly Krishna conscious. Every book of Prabhupada is perfect. You read that one book thoroughly, you become Krishna conscious. Arjuna is saying this. So this is actually preaching to ourselves. He is relieving his own mind by remembering the instructions. And just like what you have said, all these different situations, then these slokas help you to see the situation through that sloka. That is called Shastra Chakshusha, seeing through the lens of the scripture. And we have that example in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto of 24 gurus. And there the explanation is there by Jiva Goswami, that how can one have 24 gurus? One is supposed to be having only one guru, right? So that 24 gurus, that many gurus means, actually it is the teachings that received from our Diksha Guru. As we learn those shlokas, then they will reflect of these different situations, these different things. Like if we see a tree, we can immediately remember Tarora Pisashnuna and remember all the qualities, how we should be tolerant, how should, that will give us a lesson on how we should deal in our own situations, right? Just by looking at a tree, if we remember the verse. So these verses are connections between the things that we perceive with our senses and the nourishment of the soul. So these verses are the connecting plug. So they connect these things. So what is happening is that these situations teach us a lot of things, but actually it is just that the Guru's teachings are being reflected through, just like when the light, you shine it upon something and it will reflect the light. So the teachings, if we learn the teachings, then whatever we see, any example, any situation, these verses will, it appears that the situation is teaching us the thing, but actually it is our own learning of what our Guru has given that is allowing us to see that situation and learning from it. So it is actually the spiritual master who is teaching us through the situation. So in this way, that is called Shastra Chakshusha, seeing through the lens of the scripture. Nimanita Prabhu, Hari Bol. He is doing great preaching actually, everywhere. Yes, maybe we can have games and Shloka learning club. Then it's easier than when we encourage each other. Yeah. And if somebody is down in that club, feeling down for whatever reason, hey, you're feeling down, tell me some shlokas to cheer yourself up. So, then he's forced to remember, then this was, then slowly his memory will come back. So Mon Bon, who is this? How do you actually meditate on the shlokas? I think I've given some examples on that. I think hopefully that helped. It's possible only by association. Actually, I'm nothing comparing to you all. Nimanita Prabhu actually commented on Dimitri Prabhu's thing. Manjukesi Mataji, easy to memorize, Prabhu, in my case, but after some time I forgot. Then I have to review it again. Will you give us a technique in memorizing that we cannot forget it? Review it all the time. Chant it every single day. It may not be every single day. Sometimes when you have actually, especially learn a lot of shlokas, then you can rotate. For example, say Bhagavad Gita first chapter today. Tomorrow Mukundamala Stotra. Day after tomorrow Ishopanishad. Next day maybe Ishopanishad, Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction. Like that I can rotate. Or if there are, like Upadeshamrita is only 11 and Gita Mahatmya only 7. Okay, both together one day. And add in Kunti Devi's prayers all together one day. So depending on, like, maybe 100 verses a day, I can revise. If I know enough, I will be able to chant 100 verses a day easily. It's not difficult. Yeah. And if you can learn all these things like that, and if you learn in series, then you will learn much more in-depth meaning of these shlokas, because you will see the full context of it, and it will be very easy. So just like you chant, so set aside about half an hour, 1 hour a day for learning shlokas. And if you don't have such a time, whenever you are having a 5-minute break somewhere, take out your phone and have the Pocket Vedas app, learn some shloka. Just even if you in the classes we take notes. I don't know how many of you take notes, but if you take notes, then there will be shlokas. Okay, he quoted that verse. Actually, it was very nice. Okay, let me learn that shloka now. Just 5 minutes waiting for a bus or waiting at a shop or something, whatever it is. Just take it out and if you are eating, say Annamrita Pav Radha Krishna Gunagav. As we are eating prasadam, we do Radha Krishna. Take one phone and memorize the shloka as you are eating if you want. Anytime. You can always fit it in somewhere or other. If we are interested, we will find a way how to insert it into our schedule. So, but yes, coming back to the question, yes, you have to review it again. You cannot okay, I memorized it, but I forgot. Of course you will forget. You have to repeat it over and over again. Otherwise you'll forget. So you have to constantly repeat those words. And when we recite, oh, it will be very inspiring actually. Dimitri Prabhu is saying, same, but I noticed that those shlokas that I managed somehow or other to use in preaching stay for me for a long time. I think preaching is the key. Yes. So preaching, when you preach, you have to use those shlokas and force yourself. Even if you don't remember the full shloka, you force yourself. Don't just rush through the words of the shloka. Quote it. Take time and quote the shloka. You may think, oh, the other person has no time to hear me quote any shlokas. I'll just explain in English or my language, like. No, you actually quote the shloka, he will pay attention. And even if he doesn't pay attention, it is for your own self-purification. Remember, we're preaching for our own self-purification, first of all. And when we preach, actually, people will start to notice, oh, he's quoting something. Even if the person doesn't understand what is Sanskrit. He's quoting from somewhere, he's saying something. He's quoting from some references. So, subtly, it will bring in that sense of authority and sense of trust. Because, okay, this person is not just talking out of his head, he's quoting some shastra, which I don't know, but he's quoting something, some reference. So, he's quoting something which is standard, not just his own thing. So, it will have an effect. And please take time to quote. And in the beginning, you will not remember the verse when you are preaching, it will just go out of the memory. But force yourself. Or, if you cannot immediately remember, okay, take out the verse and okay, here. And then chant the verse. And then the translation, not just translation, chant the verse. Then like that, it will be more of a practice, and then eventually it will just stay. You will never forget. Preaching is the key, definitely. Divya Mataji is saying, thank you Prabhuji, the deep explanation is so much helpful about 2 words, Gotra Dharma. Today we learned how to meditate on verses. Hopefully it helped. Divya Mataji, how to love Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? It's natural to feel familiarity with Krishna and worshipping Sri Krishna, but I feel Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always strict. I have fear towards the Lord than the love. So, love actually starts with obedience. So, just obedience will do. We don't have great feelings of love. We don't even have great feelings of love for Krishna, for that matter. We may have some kind of, reflection of that love. But the real thing is, love means obedience. Trying to follow his instructions, especially Shikshashtaka. Trinadapi Sunichera Tarorapi Saishuna. If we try our best to just follow Trinadapi Sunichera and Tarorapi Saishuna, our love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is increasing. Just be obedient, that's all. Obedience is the first sign of love. Obedience. So if I just obey and follow and try to follow and seek his mercy, please help me in becoming humble than the blade of grass and more tolerant than the tree. Please give me the strength to do this. I am far away from this. So in that way, if we sincerely try, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be very much, reciprocate. That's how we do. Even Sundagopal Prabhu also taught us this when sometimes when we go book distribution, we used to come back with very little sales or almost no sales or something like that. We were very disappointed, standing there for 8 hours and then coming back with just 4 books sales or something like that. Then this was in the beginning. So Prabhu said, don't worry, whenever people don't come, whenever you're unable to sell, sometimes the previous day you sold 2-3 Bhagavad Gitas, 5-6 10 Bhagavad Gitas, and then you suddenly your ego is through the roof, and then suddenly Krishna makes not a single soul comes. He crushed the pride. So then we become humble. Oh Krishna, it's actually you who are doing it. You are the ones who are sending the sincere souls here, and I am just an instrument only, passing the book to them. That's all. I am not the real preacher or distributing this many books. If the sincere souls are not brought in here, who will distribute? I cannot distribute anybody. Today you see nothing happened. So ultimately you are the controller, Krishna. Please engage me in your service. Please let me be an instrument. Please send some sincere soul here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we pray to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like that, then yes, then our consciousness will be all right. Just of course Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also will reciprocate many times. The book distributor will always face these things. Then he will have to pray, and then pray to Prabhupada, pray to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he will feel also the reciprocation. Suddenly somebody will come and it will be a lively discussion or something like that. Things happen. So many stories of Sankirtan stories of devotees. Monborn is Bhakta Emmanuel. Oh, welcome Bhakta Emmanuel. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll meet again, hopefully on a Wednesday, if not on a Saturday, the next Saturday. But next Sunday is Narasimha Chaturdashi. We have done a series on Narasimha pastimes in 2020 during the lockdown era. So maybe you can revisit that or read on your own. Alright, thank you very much. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Parampara, Guru Shishya Parampara ki jai, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Oh, Dimitri Prabhu is asking, what about AM sessions? I really want to do the AM sessions. Honestly, it's a bit difficult at this point, but I will definitely try. Because a lot of service, because of this temple building project, so setting things up for that, it's not I shouldn't be giving an excuse, but I will try when I can. If there was no project, of course I will be doing it. But because of this project, it's a bit. My schedule is all chaotic. In fact, so much service is there. I couldn't have actually been giving this class also today. Taking this class. But I just let me just do it for my own purification. And that's how I just sat down and decided to do this session. Otherwise, actually, there's so much service stacked up. So let's see. I'll try my best. I can't promise at this point. That's why the BV also has suspended for this time. I can't manage at this point. I will try to do. I'll pray to Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give me strength to practice what I preach. I just preached. So I'll try. Please give me your mercy so that I can do my services properly, because I'm extremely bad at organizing myself. And I need a lot of mercy from devotees to do proper service. Alright, thank you all very much for taking your time. Hare Krishna.